Prof.
Hi, Jackie. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm just tired. How are you?
Okay.
I don't know why, Prof. Sometimes it seems as if I cannot find a show when we're doing it to share it. So I will be like most people and say, please share the show so that other people can join in if they so desire. And thank you all for joining us today on Friday, June 23rd. Prof, the year almost gone.
Yeah, we're almost in the middle of the year.
Yep. Yep.
July comes up and we have 7.
July coming. July 26th coming, Prof.
So going to Liberia to enjoy.
No, I'm not going to Liberia to enjoy. But
No,
July 26th is coming. Yeah. So how was your week?
as usual, just lay back that thing.
Yeah. And for those of you who are joining us, we hope your week went well and that you've come to another weekend to relax. Prof and I we're here as we are every Friday at 6 o'clock. This
Yeah.
is sort of a funny time slot, but we're here. We're here just to talk. So join us, share the show to other people who are interested in history or just wanting to know about Liberia or just want to chill this Friday. Join us. So when Prof and I started this show, we said that we're on a journey and a lot of people will join us on this journey to learn. It has been an absolutely enlightening learning experience for me. I know so much because of Prof. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot,
And
Prof.
our audience,
Yeah, I've really learned a lot from this show and from Prof. So um, today we Prof and I decided that we're going to look at some letters of people who have settled in Liberia and letters that they've been writing. We've done a show before on letters that went back and forth, but the letters today are kind of framed in miscommunication and communication. And if you think that this information started only with social media, you're wrong. You know, we've had a lot of disinformation in the old days. And one of the disinformation that was in the media about Liberia and how people countered that narrative. So Prof and I were going to talk about it. But Prof, it's funny that sometimes politics has has made or makes our country so divisive that we all go into these silos. I'm this, I'm Grebo, I'm cool, I'm my family came on a boat, on a ship, like that. But sometimes if you are trying to find common ground, if you're trying to look at what binds us, you know, I mean, one of the things is that this little piece of ground that we find ourselves is really, I always say it's sacred ground because people fought to be here. I always say that Liberia's epitaph on their tombstone was written before the birth.
yeah.
Yeah, people said it's never going to be anything, no black man's gonna have their own country. So people really looked at Liberia as a failure waiting to happen. It's just gonna take a matter of time. So today we're going to talk about one of the pieces and one of the persons who thought that it would be a failure, but of course with the letters going back, that was not to be. So Prof,
The
uh-huh.
I guess the doubt were contextualized in what sadly was happening in the Haiti,
Yes, yes,
and and then of course on the mainland of the United States, there was the uh, tapestry of fait accompli,
yes,
the whole idea of how the white man uh, mishandled the black man, and given the what the white man laid out, it was more of even a quiet celebration that just booting black men out of America was simply uh, telling the world that they were being dumped into a trash can that had a ceiling. Now, today, whenever people are raising the question or raising some of the sad things that is big to the black man, and the black man is responding, then it is like, we are tired of hearing all that you are talking about. Stop crying and what have you. But the idea is that uh, when you set a fate for a whole race by what you were doing politically, by what you were doing economically, so that it becomes difficult, even to this day, for the black man to rise to a significant pinnacle, then you must not uh, be tired of hearing the things that were done to the black man. Be that as it may, I'm glad that there are a number of people that are still making a difference, that are still standing up to the needless feistiness that is created out of the snares and all those things that were laid for the black man. It's a sad thing, but here I guess that is the reality of the world. And we must talk about these things while making our own progress in life.
So we know that the people who came to Liberia were made up of very different groups. Some were educated, some were not. The bulk were not educated.
Yeah.
They were given a choice to leave, to be free, and those were mostly people who worked on in the fields who couldn't read and write. So I guess not only the whites in America, but some blacks never thought that people would eagerly want to go.
Yeah.
They thought that people would be forced to go. But when people got to Liberia and started to write back, the exodus began. So we have a few letters. I mean, I have it here as a PowerPoint, but they're quite long. So we'll start with the one from Reverend Charles Bryant. He says, okay, so before we begin, so Charles Bryant left Louisiana in 1876.
Yeah.
So Charles Bryant now is writing back to his group. And I want people to know I didn't make this up. We got it from Hattie Trust, but let me add it to the stream and see, because every time I try to add, then something happens to my computer. But here's the first letter, and I will read it because the text is really small. He says, can you see it, Prof?
Yeah.
Okay. So Reverend Charles Bryant, who left Louisiana in January 1876, he writes from Grand Bassa County on September 18. Yours of May 6. So he has somebody else's letter that came on May 6.
Yeah.
It finds me and my family. I'm quoting. This is not my words. It finds me and my family in usual health. I say, since you asked, that I am not holding any government position. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have looked much into the affairs of this republic and think I understand them. Our laws are good in the main. Our constitution is excellent. And the soil is as good as any in the world. A lot of the people, Prof, and of course, I'm not finished, but a lot of the people talk about the soil in Liberia and how fertile it is. Yeah. We want men who believe that they ought to make a nation. I like that. And that they are not the white man's inferior. We want statesmen. We are a free people and make our own laws. We are not subject to any class of men and are a sovereign and independent nation. I am disposed to give information only to those who intend to come to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new country, only 54 years from the commencement of the colony to the present. What people is there that went to a distant continent without learning and money and established themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent nation in the same length of time? We have a well-organized government and are in treaty relationship with all the enlightened powers of earth. This country is new. Everything is to do. You need not expect to come and find everything in Africa as in America.
Mm-hmm.
I fit is an honor to be a state senator or anything else in the United States. Why don't the men who want to be Supreme Court judges, members of a national House of Representatives and senators come to this country? Come to Liberia. And should you be elected to an office, you will get it. Please publish this letter in the papers when you are through with it. Write to me soon. End
Mm-hmm.
of quote. So Reverend Charles Bryan, Prof.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
They,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
No, I'm
they,
saying like what he says. You know,
yes.
he said we need men. We want statesmen. We are free people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It you know, at the threshold of the establishing of the United States of America,
Yes.
uh, there were men and women who spoke in almost this fashion. The whole idea of uh, selling the idea
Yes.
of emigration, selling the idea of emigration, selling the idea of immigration, uh, because at a point, unless good quality human beings uh, went over to Liberia, just as good quality men and women entered the United States of America, the establishing of a nation of goodwill, a nation of productivity, will not have made an impact. So we might as well say that at the beginning of the making of Liberia, uh, the idea became a selling point. You were
Yeah.
talking about the soil, you talk about the soil, which meant that people of energy, people of strength, people of farsightedness were supposed to help establish the foundation of this country. And that's what you have very well read for us to hear and enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. But just how people were writing their families to say, come to this country, there were people who were dissuading them.
Yeah. Mm.
You know, and that's where we're gonna that's really what we're gonna discuss after we read one or two letters. You would see how there's a whole reply to one man who tried to stop people from coming to Liberia. So we read the second letter. The second letter, I mean, some of the letters, the people, you know, really desired a country where they can be men
Yeah.
and women, not black men, but men in their own right. You know, and so the second letter that we're going to read is from uh it's coming, Prof. It takes a while, but it's coming. It's from Northfleet Brown, who was a school teacher at the time
Mhm.
from North Carolina, right? He moved his family to Liberia in 1879
Yeah.
in Brookville.
Mhm.
So in January 28, I'm sorry, it's so small, the letter was quite long. In January
Mhm.
28, he began. I started his letter now. Thank God and the American Colonization Society for aiding me to remove to Liberia.
Mhm.
After a pleasant run of 31 days from New York, I landed at Monrovia, the capital of the Republic. I remained in Monrovia one day and then came to the town of Brookville on the St. Paul's River, some 10 miles distant.
Mhm.
I never was so well pleased as when I set my feet on Africa's shores.
Mhm.
For here I am at home. All that is wanted in this country is intelligent, enterprising, and money men from the United States.
Mhm.
By that class, a large and powerful republic can be built on the coast of
Mhm.
Africa. Ministers are also wanted to preach to our brethren that are in heathenism. I find this to be a good country, the only country for the Negro. Africa, dear Africa, is the only land that a colored man can say is his. I expect to start a school soon at Brookville for the natives to teach them the truth of the gospel. Um, I say to my brethren in America, come to your own country. Here you can feel that your soul is your own. I like that. Here you will not be despised as of another race. Here you can rule instead of being ruled. Here are no white men to say whether you shall vote or not. And here you will not be kicked about from pillar to post as a football by white
Mhm.
people or politicians. Okay, excuse me, those of you who are listening. The western coast of Africa was wisely selected by American benevolence and philanthropy for
Mhm.
the settlement of the exiled people of color. I
Mhm.
find here all kinds of fruit, vegetable, and grain as in the United States. It
Mhm.
is not so hot here. And January is the warmest month as to burn the fish in the rivers or
Mhm.
the fine coffee growing on trees. It is pleasant. The air is sweet and soft. And it is quite cool in the morning and evening.
Mhm.
At noonday, it is not hotter than in North Carolina in summertime. If I were again in the United States, I would not remain. I would return to Liberia, even if I had to grieve my bones with labor until
Mhm.
I could raise money enough to bury my body here.
Mhm.
The immigrants that left with me are all well. They have selected their lands and are at work upon them. Please have this published and send it to Reverend Louis Brown. I mean,
Mhm.
Louis Brown, not my minister,
Mhm.
and to Mr. Alexander Brown, my brother, both at Littleton, North Carolina. I
Mhm.
write them to come to this republic of true liberty, equality, and happiness.
Mhm.
Whoa. End of quote. So
True liberty, equality, and happiness.
yes,
It, instead of talking about the love of liberty brought us here, those three letters, those three words would be a good replacement
yeah,
for the motto of the country.
yeah,
Um, I always talk about the arrow word, which is relevance. There is something about relevance that cannot be so easily interchanged. Every individual in the world is energized by the recognition and the reality of relevance. That comes up in this excerpt that you read, and it came up in the previous excerpt. And I think in the next two or three excerpts we are going to talk about the
yeah,
idea that the Black personality can stand up in a country and call it his or her own. Nothing beats that.
yes,
That I can go in and come out without looking over my shoulders about someone who is going to chase me down and destroy me for nothing else but for the color of my skin. If only the joy that these people spoke about as they went to Liberia uh, engulfed everything that they did, engulfed everything that they spoke about and what have you, so that it did not become a personalized type of thing, but a particular thing rooted in collectivism.
Yeah.
If that were rooted in collectivism, something that the Wilmot Blyden's, Edward Wilmot Blyden's, the Thomas Faulkner, all these people, they spoke about that. Look, let us always keep in mind what brought us to this part of the soil called the Republic of Liberia.
Yeah.
If they open their arms in terms of discussing, in terms of uh, trading whatever they had to trade to make sure that whether so-called settler and indigenous, whatever it was, that they all belong to the land, and therefore whatever public policies and all those things uh, remain vital to everyone. And sadly, even up to this day, the idea that yes, yesterday we were talking about the Western flavored Africans that went, and now we are talking about the so-called educated indigenous people who cannot find it fit to work together, but to have other people because of the need for grains and meat. It's not, I don't call it a bread and butter issue. I'm talking about grains and what? And meat issue, food issue. I am better than you. And for whatever education you have, you try as much as possible to trash other people. If only this were not the system that is coming and destroying this country, we will be in a better place.
Yeah, but so Prof, I think that like most country of immigrants, people came with diverse motives,
Yeah.
objectives and goals. So you see that those that came from Barbados, they about 99%, because I can't say 100, embrace the indigenous people.
Yeah.
And most of them wrote about the treatment of the indigenous people. But you can see also that, I mean, I don't know if you remember in the 1822s, when the first group, when they started coming to Liberia, the American colonization wrote that those formerly enslaved people who were coming should not mix with the indigenous people, or they would be sent back. There was a dictum.
Mhm.
I'm going to find it. We can discuss it one day. They told them, if you mix with them, you go back home. You're not
Mhm.
going to be here. So in the beginning, you had these rules, and the fact that the American colonization society had paid for their way
Mhm.
made it even more that they wouldn't contravene these rules. But let's look at one more letter before we go to this information. And this one is actually JJ Ross. Is that the name, JJ Ross? Isn't
Mhm.
there a school called JJ Ross School?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, he visited the United States during the summer, and on the eve of departure, he wrote, and I'm quoting now: "I emigrated to Liberia in 1849 from Augusta, Georgia, in the bark Huma." So that was the ship. "With my grandmother, Hannah Mallory, I then being about 7 years old. Myself and family arrived at New York in May last. We have been to Georgia to see our relatives, where we spent 2 months, and have visited Washington, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. We are about to leave for Liberia via England. We are much pleased with the civilization, science, and enlightenment that we find in America, but we love Liberia better as a home. and would not exchange place and situation for the same here if it were offered. In Africa, every breath of air is one of pure freedom and unprescribed manhood, such as the best and most exalted Negro can never realize in these United States. End of quote. Oh, Prophet, getting serious.
Yeah.
So the motive really was freedom.
Yeah.
And he says that even if you give freedom to the most exalted black man, the most exalted black man will never enjoy the freedom that J.J. Ross finds in Liberia.
In fact, that also motivated the very first president of Liberia, uh, uh, Joseph Jenkins Roberts.
Yeah.
His father, actually his stepfather, uh, was making economic progress in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, the question was, why do I have to go to Africa? But with his passing, uh, Joseph Jenkins Roberts and the family were still being frustrated by racism in the country, in the
Yeah.
United States of America, in Virginia. So the question was, why go through this nonsense? Why go through this nonsense?
Yeah.
We continue to hear what is happening in Liberia.
Yeah.
Maybe our faith cannot be fully actualized in this place called the United States of America. And like Ross, that is how J.J. Roberts went to Liberia. And he had not stayed there long when things began to unfold in a beautiful way for him.
Yeah.
That statement that I don't care what you say, it is better here than the United States of America is powerful. It was the past president of Guinea who often echoed that idea clothed in a different set of words.
Yes.
I prefer being a king in poverty
In poverty. Yes.
than to be a slave in wealth and what have you. And that's
The
what
only,
it is.
the, the
We
only
like it here. We like
yeah,
it.
the only francophone country that shunned France at the
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So Nangwe is enjoying his birthday. Want to say happy
Yeah.
birthday, Nangwe. Happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday, man.
All the blessings, and
Yes.
we
Yes.
pray God's blessings on
May
you and
you
many, many
continue
more
to
years.
grow as a strong young man,
Yes,
people oriented and loving country and everything. So,
yes.
congratulations on your new day and the new year.
And
Peace
Liberia
to
is
your
worth
family,
fighting for.
everything.
You
Yeah,
know,
Liberia is worth fighting
Liberia
for.
is worth fighting for. And
Yes.
Mr. Jerome came and said, "Oh, he received the book. Okay,
Oh,
please
cool.
inbox me. I want to send my due." You see, Jerome Gaiman is he's so good. He wants to help us to purchase books to buy. He wants to send his
Mhm.
due. I will inbox you, and I will
Mhm.
send you other copies of the Liberian Studies Journal. Uh,
Okay.
Mr. Gaiman is really a good a person, and he's a great supporter of the Literary Hour.
Which book is he talking about?
The LSJ.
Okay, all right. Okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Is
yes,
he
yes.
is he in America?
Yes, he has a show on Focus on Liberia.
Oh, is that right?
Oh,
Okay.
Mr. Gaiman, I think the birthday is for
Well,
one of those who
yes,
are watching Nangbe
yes, Emmanuel.
Moju.
Yes,
Yes,
very
yes,
good.
he's
Yes,
watching. Mr. Gaiman says hello, Nangbe. He says happy
yes,
birthday. So we
yes,
come now to part two.
yes.
So we all these letters are coming, and the letters are telling people, look, you have to come. This country is great.
Mhm.
Now we have Arkansas. So I'm going to read some of these because these are from the Hattie Trust.
Mm-hmm.
A large proportion of, of the immigrants during the year were from the city of Helena
Mm-hmm.
and Phillips County in Arkansas.
Yeah. Arkansas.
These people, Prof, had gotten letters from their friends, their relatives, and they were about to go.
Yeah.
You see, they reached New York in the winter, entirely self-moved and at their own expense,
Mm.
bound for the African Republic. Yeah. So I'm going to read this portion. He said, inquiry among them brought out the fact that they were men not acting blindly.
Mm.
They were not acting blindly. You know, they had plan of movement of which others with superior advantages might be proud. They
Yes.
stated that they were a part of many thousands organized, hundreds, bound by oath, a secret organization,
Mm.
right? We feel it no less, I'm quoting, we feel it no less our duty than a pleasure to give the gospel to our fatherland, right? So they were ready to go. Like it's called a Liberia Exodus Arkansas colony. So what had happened is that these people were really smart. Before they even got to New York, they had commissioned, I'm reading now, they commissioned two intelligent men to go to Liberia, a physician and another man, and they paid their way to go and return. And the people said, oh man, this country, Anna, you got to come, you
Mm.
know. So they said, we are all willing to work hard. We older men do not expect to live long anywhere. So the
Mm.
people say, look, we know some of us will die, but we go to Liberia to make a home for our children and our grandchildren. No man has urged us to go. The things come from our own hearts. God put it there.
Mm.
End of quote. You know, I mean, Prof, these people were really dedicated.
In fact, that letter, the excerpt you read,
Yeah.
was always a repetition of these are grown men.
Okay.
These are people with soundness of mind. These are grown men. These are, that sort of a thing. So it's repeated through, which, in a way, serves to place a stamp
Yes.
on the fact that there was no urging. It was a voluntary exercise and what have you, which made it a little more profound. A little more profound.
So
I'm reminded of John Kizell. John Kizell had been an earlier recruit. Uh, he was taken as a slave and then got his freedom at an early age. And he was used as one of those who helped pave the way to go to Africa, to go to Liberia, because uh, he had been an experienced person knowing both something about Africa and America, and therefore would be a good chaperone to take those people down there and help them settle very well in the new home. So
I
really
think
talking about the Arkansas thing brought it to my
no,
mind.
I think that John Cazell was one of the few indigenous people we learned about when we were growing up.
Yeah, yeah,
Cazell
that's
was an
right.
African. His father was a chief. John
Yeah.
Cazell was taken far away from Liberia. He was taken far, far away to America. I remember that.
So what is her name? A. Doris Banks Henrys might have had her own uh, uh, character for which she was lambasted by educated indigenous people, but I think she had a role to play too, to bring some of the important early actors on the stage in the Republic of Liberia.
Yeah. So I'm saying that the American Colonization Society, they kept meticulous notes,
Yeah.
Prof. I mean, every single, I'm thinking, okay, there were no computers,
Mhm.
but every single thing they kept how much money?
Yeah.
How many people went to Liberia, their family,
Mhm.
this. I mean,
Records,
meticulous
records,
records, and I'm
records.
so
Very much
grateful.
important.
I'm so grateful to the Smithsonian and the Library of
Mhm.
Congress for keeping some of these things,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now we come to the part where we talk about disinformation. You have people going to Liberia, people writing their family, come, come, come. Then we have this man called Rednick, Bishop Rednick, who was actually the missionary bishop for Kipamas.
Mhm.
When I read, I was like, oh yeah. So this Rednick put together 16 pages,
Mhm.
right? Our work in Africa was what it was titled. 16 pages to everything bad that's happening in Liberia. This man
Mhm.
wrote, So one of the first misinformation that he wrote was about the ship Azor. So Azor was one of the first ships for the movement made by blacks to Africa. So in his 16 pages, he covered a lot of things about Liberia negatively. And then you see that in the American colonization report, they are rebutting every single one because according to them, and I'm quoting, those statements were hostile and disadvantageous. But let's start with the first one. He says this ship, the Azor, was taken back because they didn't pay their mortgage or their bill or whatever. That was what he said. And then he says that of the people who went, right? He says that from their own original voluntary action to return to the land, right? They were met with such inexperienced people. 320. This is from his paper now.
Mhm.
He says 320 people sailed on that ship. He says 29 people died because there was no food. He said, sorry, Prof. He said 40 of them, when they got to Liberia, they sent a message to the relatives, say, look, just send for me, let me come back. I don't want to be here. 40. So we have 320 sailing, 29 died. 40 said, please just please just send me back. Of the remaining 300, he says only 60 are alive. That is in his 16 pages now. Right? This is the bishop of Kepama. Don't forget, the man is giving his report. So when he wrote that, the people decided that they were going to reply. Right? They were going to reply him to say, but what the man doing? What he doing? So yes. Sorry, this is the next one. The next one is when so after he gave his figure and what happened, the response is that I'm quoting, when the truth is so bad, there is no very good excuse for mistakes. So they are writing the facts now. The facts are 256 persons, old and young, embarked on the Azor at Charleston, South Carolina, April 21, 1878. Of these, when they reached March 1880, showed that, when they reached after a while, March 1880 showed that 23, the man says 29. The people said there are 23 died on a voyage. 16 returned to America. He says 40.
Mhm.
27 people who died from all causes
Mhm.
in Liberia. And the 190 are still alive, were still alive in the Republic, right? With good health, prosperous, right? And they are contented.
Mhm.
So then they decided to name some of these people. The Roberts' brother arrived in Monrovia in 1829. The Roberts died in 1863.
Mhm.
Bishop Roberts in 1875. President Roberts 1876. The McGill family, they are flourishing. They have quite good wealth. Hillary Teach landed in 1829 and so they were giving a list of people who had lived long, you know. And
Mhm.
then President Robert told the writer that he had not suffered 2 hours from the effects of the African climate. And to his memory, when he died, Joseph Jenkins Roberts gave $10,000 in American government bonds and a coffee plantation in Liberia to assist education in Liberia.
Mhm.
So that's the first lie, that all
Yeah.
these people died. So he's saying that no, when these people came, some of them were already in ill health. You say 40 people returned, 40 people didn't return. There were only
Mhm.
16 who went back.
Yes.
160 are alive. Oh, Boyna is here. Hi, Boyna. Hope everything is okay. Our faithful few. Yeah. So 40 didn't go back to America. So they are trying to debunk all of the stuff that he's been saying. That's the first one.
Mhm.
So the man lied. Then he talked about the fact that they had horses in Liberia, and where there are horses, there's the what is it called? Testy fly, CC
Mhm.
fly. How do you say it?
Yeah. That sleeping, that fly that produces sleeping illness and what have you. It's
Okay.
you talking about gadfly. You remember
Yes.
gadfly? That is
Yes.
the same. That's the same fly you're talking
So
about.
he put that in a paper too. He said, "Oh, you will catch this thing, so and so." So at that time, the people were so angry to respond to him, and
Mm.
the response was so. And I'm going to put it there so people can read. There, and this is what he's saying now, right? There are numerous horses in the eastern borders of Liberia, and an
Mm.
abundance of asses and cattle. And where there are horses and asses, there must be mules or would be
Mm.
mules if the native encourage such crossing. So President Gardner, in his annual message of December 10, 1879, said that, I'm quoting, Ibrahimi Sisi, sovereign ruler and commander of the faithful of the kingdom of Medina,
Mm.
states that he sent 1,000 horsemen, mounted soldiers to Masadu to escort the Liberian commissioner to Medina. The testis fly is nowhere found in Liberia. They exist in South Africa.
Mm.
You know, so everybody's angry with this Bishop Rednick, right? Who seems to want to stop people from coming to Liberia for some reason unknown to himself,
Mm.
you know. And I like the letter that goes out to rebut, because like they were saying, you know, that um people are healthy. In fact,
Mm.
if I may, because I had it up, I was reading and I was laughing. It says uh he talked about how the people were sick, right? And the guy says, look, even in America, people die. He said America survived, and Liberia would make representation and survive too. You know, so Bishop Rednick, I mean, this man was really bad. You know, he talked also about the fact that the soil was not good for the people. The people didn't know what they were doing. You know, so he arrived in December 1877.
Mm.
He left April 1880. He was only there for 27 months,
Mm.
right? So and now he become an authority on this. So when they are answering him, right? They are so angry. So here's what they are saying. Bishop Rednick's impression of the Republic are in keeping with that of the generality of people whose experience of a new country are not extensive or pleasant, and who, on further acquaintances with the fact, see reason to modify their views, right?
Mm.
From all we can gather, Bishop Rednick had not been in the interior of Liberia,
Mm.
and hence he failed to see its life and most promising aspect.
Mm.
He has not performed a service in any one of the Episcopal churches,
Mm.
nor administered the rite of confirmation in Monrovia,
Mm.
right? And Liberian clergy, now even the clergy are against this man. The Liberian clergy asserts that he has treated them as though they were rebels,
Mm.
even threatening to excommunicate them, while they claim ever to have thoroughly loyal to the Protestant church. So this man who is saying don't come to Liberia is vilified by a lot of people, right?
One of the things coming out of the excerpts you read is at the heart of critical thinking and critical judgment. I remember during the war, I had been pushed by the rebels to leave my home, and we were living in the Barnardsville area. So we traveled 2 days, roughly 2 days, to get to to Fendel, which was one of the hubs for the displaced. When I got there, I saw a young man who was clearly agitated, and I won't blame him because of the nasty things that were going on, killing people and forcing others to keep around the dead that were putrefied and all that kind of a thing. And he kept listing the very frightening things that were going on. And I myself, I was getting absorbed into what he was describing. But one question almost immediately halted this tirade of silly things that were going on. And I said, is there nothing good at all in this place here? Then he paused, as if to say, the old man Lola got me, and I have to be able to account for even a brighter spot. And the thing about it is that when almost a lot of things are going berserk, it is important to cheer people up, to be able to give them a sense of hope. Otherwise, before they can cultivate that hope, something terrible is going to happen to them. And we bring that to what the pastor was doing. That is why always when someone is describing a particular thing and what have you, you must have a sixth or seventh or eighth sense to find a lighter spot, to find a lighter spot. Not that it is not important to paint a picture of some of the realities, but it is very much important to help people find a standing upon which they can build some hope to be able to press forward. So, in the broad frame of things, people have to ask, what is the intention, or what are the intentions of those who are telling this new story?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is the motive? And such a thing probably might going to help you find out that that person might be speaking from a poor and weak objectivity, which may not be which may not augur well for the common interest of the ambience that is needed to give people hope to press on.
Yeah, because he was quite, I want to, because is I did not, so he says here, he says, uh Bishop Redneck. So Prof, you're right when you say, sometimes it's good to understand the person's background. Bishop Redneck was born in Virginia, and he felt like he was like the elite.
Uh-huh.
Listen to this, Prof. They said that it was a strain. He was not as accustomed to such sights. It was a strain of his southern nerves to
Okay.
take off his hat to a black man
Okay.
and to live under the protection of a Negro government.
Okay.
Therefore, can you imagine? So because of that, when he came to Liberia, listen to this part. So the people are responding to his letter, right?
Mhm.
His 16 pages of saying, don't go to Liberia, all these things in Liberia. So the people said, this man who was born in Virginia, who felt that he was up there, he didn't
Yeah.
want to even take off his hat
Okay.
to bow to a black man. Now, so when Bishop Rednick, or Pennick, or I can repeat it, Pennick, applied to the legislature, right? You say you don't like the country, people mustn't come here, but you apply to the legislature to get 300 acres of land.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
No problem. Let me finish reading, because if I
Yeah.
start laughing, I
Mhm.
won't stop.
Okay.
He applied for 300 acres of land to build mission in Monserrato County, right?
Mhm.
And this legislature was strong. They opposed it,
Mhm.
right? So President Gardner said, okay, we'll give you 30 acres at Cape Mount,
Just
right?
imagine not to go even 300 acres, one person. And talking about, even I don't care, you're talking about building a mission or what have you. 300 acres in the small country. Anyway.
Yeah, so he goes on, he said Bishop Pennick is doing what other white missionaries have done on this coast in
Ah.
the excessive zeal and in the ignorance of the African
Mhm.
race.
Okay.
He is young and enthusiastic, but he
Mhm.
cannot succeed in stopping immigration from this country to Africa, not in converting people to Christianity. So
Mhm.
you can do all you want, we're still going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Intention.
Yes.
If you have to explore the context. Context is important. That's what we are saying. The
And,
context is important.
and let me end with this one thing. So this person is saying when the Puritans were trying to come from England, right,
Yeah.
to America, to Plymouth and Jamestown,
Mhm.
doubtless there were people saying to them, "Oh, calamities will befall you."
Mhm.
That was 200, and they still went. America survived, and Liberia will. I
Yes.
like that. That's why
Wow.
I tell people, that's why we always end. No country
Mhm.
is 100% bad, and no
Yeah.
country is
It's,
100% good. Yeah. So,
it's,
so, so,
it's,
yeah.
uh, yes. It's revealing. The first we're talking about misinformation and disinformation and what have you, and people need always to ask the question, who is speaking,
Yes.
and from what angle of intentionality is that person speaking?
Yes. What
Do I
agenda they
want to
have?
be do I want to be sucked into it, or do I want to stand my own ground and what and do my own investigation? These were important at their time, and such continue to be important today. Continue to
Prof,
be important today. Yes.
the rebuttal is we have to. I'm sorry, we have to say. So he says that, oh, Liberia is unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
Because of his 5 presidents, only 2 are alive. This is
Mhm.
Pinnick still
Mhm.
writing, right? So this rebuttal is saying it's not stated that President Roy drowned at sea,
Mhm.
right? He drowned at sea. Now, listen to this. Does it necessarily prove that the United States is very sickly because of its 19 presidents, only 2 are living?
Mhm.
Of the many presidents of Mexico, only 2 are survived. 2
Mhm.
survived. Would that be an argument against the healthfulness of our sister republic? So he's
Mhm.
turning it on him. He said, okay, you say that our presidents are dying. What about America?
Mhm.
What about Mexico?
Mhm.
And then another one, I guess you might, maybe, I don't know what Pennick says, there's slavery in Liberia.
Mhm.
Prof. Pennick say the Liberian people, they practice in slavery.
Mhm.
So then when he said that, then President Robert said, that's, I'm quoting President Robert, that slavery exists in any form in Liberia is, I am bold to assert, wholly repugnant to the feelings of the people and express it prohibited by the fundamental law of the republic. The Constitution, Chapter 1, Section 4, emphatically provides there shall be no slavery within this republic, nor shall any citizen of this republic of any person resident therein deal in slaves either within or without this republic directly or indirectly. End of quote. So this guy is saying that no, I challenge you to prove that the government is doing slavery. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's Pennick. Pennick is saying, oh, these people, don't come here. Oh, these people, but yet he wants 300 acres of land.
Yes. Don't come here, so I'll be able to have no space to myself. That's what it is. So you can see that he is speaking from selfishness. Don't come
Yeah.
here.
Yes, he's speaking from
Yeah.
selfishness. Yeah. So so
Hmm.
so yeah. So anyway, that's it. His disinformation was to stop people from coming. When he came, I guess because of his elite status, he didn't want to be under any black person. He didn't want to doff his hat, as they say.
Mhm.
But the president still gave him 30 acres in Cape
Yeah.
Mount. I hope that if it's there, they take it from him or his Fennec,
Yeah.
but you can see that you can see sometimes when you hear of countries like from the West exploiting Africa, then you start to think that maybe there, 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 there will have been no slave trade because slavery is already happening all these multinationals going to Africa and doing the same things. But the thing is that when he started to talk about this ship with all the disinformation, these people died, they died on the ship, they had no food and so, and he was rebutted at every step, right? Yeah, and so one last letter before we just continue. One last letter was written by someone who was on that ship, right? And this is the last slide. So the person who was on the ship and is writing back to his family. He says, Mr. Jackson Clark, one of the passengers on the Azor, wrote to his brother in South Carolina from Arlington, August 8th. And I'm reading his letter. In my last letter to you, I was much discouraged, owing to my being a stranger in this land and to this people, and because of the failure to receive my money from the parties with whom I entrusted it in the United States. They posted him money. My family are all in splendid health and are doing well. Mother and father are looking and feeling better than when they left Charleston. I have made 2 crops in this country and they have done me more benefit than any 2 crops in America. I am making my coffee farm. I have planted 10,000 trees and I have 8,000 scions ready to set out. Some of the 2,000 trees bloomed last March and others are in bloom at this time. Now, my dear brother, I say to you and to all my race that want to be anybody, come to Liberia. For it is the only home for the people of color. End of quote. Prof, we got a lot of Elijah Johnsons. Okay.
Yes.
So, Prof and I, we always, before Prof comes in, we always talk about Elijah Johnson. Now, for you young people who don't know Elijah Johnson was fighting with the indigenous people, fighting to save his country. And the British warship was passing. And the British warship said to Elijah Johnson, right, who was the head at that time, said, look, we can help you. We have a warship. We can use our warship to fight these people you're fighting. The only thing we need for you to do is to just let us plant the British flag here. Just let us put the flag right here. Let's just put the flag.
It will not mean anything.
It will not mean anything, let's just put the flag. And for us who did Liberian history, his answer is some of the most beautiful things in Liberia. I mean, it's music to our ears. So I will let Prof very quietly tell you what Elijah Johnson said to this British captain who wanted to plant the British flag in Liberia. Prof?
I guess Elijah Johnson must have laughed in his heart, almost falling down.
Yes.
He said, look at this joker.
Oh, that's not what he said. Prof telling people what the mess.
But in simple terms, I'm talking. He said, look at this joker. You want to plant this flag here because you think that these indigenous people are giving us hard time. But removing this flag you are talking about, it will be even doubly difficult to remove this flag than to fight these indigenous people.
Yes.
So between your flag you want to plant and our need to fight these people, fighting these people is far easier, because when your flag is planted here, we might never so easily remove them.
Yep.
We might never so easily remove that flag. So pack your satoka and leave.
He said, we do not want your flag here. It will cost us more to take it down than to put it up. So Prof said, the man said, pack your satoka and
pack your satoka, you leave. Your thing that what you are saying is that, and you say we are benighted, and you say we are morons. That's what you want to test here by bringing your flag and wanting to plant it here. But I will be the last black man that you will face, and you will never want to face any black man again, because God has planted something in our brains that is so stuffed and stubborn that you cannot so easily convince yourself. British captain, pack leave
5 years ago,
before.
knowing full well,
So,
that, I mean, first of all, one day we'll go back to the Galenas and talk about how they screwed us on that
yeah,
Galena,
yeah,
never gave us
yeah,
our money back, took
yeah.
our land. But you see that they were fighting from all sides. France was chipping at our territory.
Yeah,
England was chipping at our territory.
yeah,
Prof, it's important to know history. It is very
very,
important to
very
know
much in all fields
in all
of
fields.
study.
You
Yeah,
know, and I tell this story because I remember when I was at the Liberian Studies Association one year. I think it was when I was a new member. I was in North Carolina years ago, and I did history under Shaduri.
yeah,
Literature under you, but history under Shaduri. And I was sitting there, and this man, a Ghanaian, came to give his paper. I'm sitting there, and he started to talk about how, Liberia got its independence in 1847. America encouraged Liberia to have its independence. And I think literally I flew down the aisle to grab the microphone to ask to say to him. And one of the things I did say to him, because when he was saying it, I looked around and people were shaking their heads. And I say one of the things that war does to people is to displace their memory, displace knowledge of their country, because the young people don't know. And I said, but how? I said, explain to me how when Liberia declared its independence in 1847. Interestingly enough, the two crooks on both sides, France and England, were the first two to recognize Liberia, Liberia's independence. It took America 17 years. And I said to him, do you know why America could not recognize Liberia or Haiti? Because that would mean a Black person would be in Washington, right? In a diplomatic corps representing the country. And America could not do that because why? Why, bro? Because there was not emancipation,
and
So
there will be much agitation. You
yeah,
have
there'll
to
be
think about Nat Turner and all those guys now who
yeah,
had, earlier on,
you know.
stay
So
of the part.
it may be that America is our let people to say our father or mother, whatever. But it took them 17 years almost, when emancipation before they could recognize Liberia and Haiti.
The three.
But the first two were like France and England. Even though England was chipping and France was cutting. But anyway, it is very important for us to see how, whether you're indigenous, you Congo, or you were formerly enslaved from America, how people fought for this country. How people, they never expected Liberia to live.
Yeah.
And Liberia fought on every side.
Yeah, yeah.
They stole our territory. We pay money. They took it from us, but they never, even with the Fernando Po,
Yeah.
Liberia was punished for Spain. Is it Spain? Spain was never
Yeah,
punished.
Spain, yeah.
So Spain needed the people.
But
Spain, but
Spain was sitting in a comfortable place and the League of Nations, so
yes,
they were the people
they
who
almost
were.
took Liberia
Yeah,
away. They almost took Liberia away. They almost made it a protectorate. I know some people might say, "Oh, we're suffering now. It should be." No, Liberia should never be a protectorate. See how hard the people fought for this country, where the Black man can be free or the
yeah,
men can be free. Let me put it that way. Let's not. But for people to be free and breathe, and you're saying that all of these things that these people fought for, you're saying now that, oh no, let's just give it back to them. No, Liberia is worth fighting for, and if we hold together, be strong and see, as America says, when you entering the Lincoln Tunnel, they have that saying, which is also on the money: "E pluribus unum," out of many, one. No matter how we got here, we all in the same boat.
yeah,
we
yeah.
will, we will.
Yeah,
Liberia is that boat,
Spain,
and we inside, and we should hold up. We should paddle that canoe to
yeah,
safe waters. I'm sorry,
really
I
strong.
feel like a preacher, but sometimes when I read, the hopes and dreams of people coming to Liberia or who were already in Liberia, how dare we, say that we tired fighting, we might as well. No, all of us would have to work together for
And
a better life
that,
every.
always watching from Chicken Soup Factory. Oh, wow, Sylvester
Hi,
Johnson is watching.
Sylvester. Yes,
Hi,
yes. Good
Sylvester.
evening, and thank you for
It-
joining us. Yeah,
Always
we
they
you. Oh, this was the
they
64th. Sorry, Prof. People always
mm,
like to say when you get your thing, it's the 64th annual report of the
yeah,
American
yeah.
Organization
Of
Society.
course, I know, things, but how can people of the nation come here and want to spill lies? How can why
Yeah,
would
yeah. No, no,
anyone
no, no,
want
no, no,
to
no. No.
invest in lies? The thing I was talking about is there is a need every now and then to keep the vision of uh, the evolution of Liberia and the mission of the evolution of this country. It is important then for us to keep this. Mosi Mean is watching from Atlanta, Georgia. So
Hello.
our vision, in a sense, is to create a country where the Black personality is capable of creating a level of dignity and decency. That is the vision, to create a country where the Black personality cultivates decency and respectability and diligence. And our mission is to evolve
Prof, I
that
just
person.
hold my second. My computer is about to die, so I'll let you talk.
Okay. And so that remains the quest for us all, children, parents, and what have you. The question will always be, what can we do? How can we perform so that the Black personality remains dignified, the Black personality remains diligent? That is the question. So, whatever we do, whatever we say, the question is what we are saying and what we are doing. How does any such thing add to the dignity and respectability of the Black personality? That is what we are talking about in this place here.
And I
So,
think that informed them about the Negro clause. I think
yes,
that
yes,
informed.
yes. So yes, the Negro clause, that is not. So that is it. Everything you are doing, whether in your corner, in the market, in the school, in official working cycles, those questions should be able to stir you up. What am I doing? How am I doing what I'm doing to bring dignity and respectability and decency to the Black character, Black personality? If your behavior, if your language and every other thing will not comport with that question of bringing dignity and respectability to the Black personality as you are, then you have failed your country. You have failed your race. So you must then get ready to help create that kind of personality which will impact your legacy. All what we are doing, that somewhere I read that if you are if you are alive, worried about the fact that tomorrow you will die, then you are not worth living because the physical self is going to die, but the spiritual self The immaterial self, which has to do with your legacy, is the thing that you never allow to fade off sight. All that we are talking about in this place, there's several sessions of literary hour, sparse with history and what have you we talked about. Do not worry about the death of your physical self, but worry about the death of your legacy. What you have said, what you have done, how will it bring pride to your children and children's children? That is the thing that you should be worried about.
And also, we always start to say, who are you? So your personality encompasses
Yeah.
being a Liberian as well.
Yes.
And so as a Liberian, what are the values that we hold in common?
Yes.
Because like, was it all Liberians are friendly people? Yes, but what else? What
What
does
else?
like what does being a Liberian mean to
Yeah.
you? It's like yesterday we are playing host to the Mandela Fellows, right? And there are
Mhm.
25 young African leaders who are here.
Yeah.
And of course, soon as they said, "Oh, Jackie," my workmate said, "There's one Liberian." Before they could turn, I was there. So yes, we are friendly people, but what else? What other qualities are
Can we
there?
boast of being hardworking? Can we boast of that? Can we boast of people of integrity? Can we boast of people of sincerity and honesty? Can we be dependable? Can we be dependable, or we want to always be dependent so that people will manipulate us and all that kind of a thing? Is that what we want?
And David Jassy, how can we create a dignified Black personality in the midst of the various existing personalities that are influenced by various cultures? One of the culture that I really am interested in is the Asian culture.
Mhm.
It seems as well, that's just a generalization, but most of the time they are so steeped in their culture that other cultures don't really easily penetrate
Yeah.
what they hold true. And I was talking to one of my friends from China. He said, "Oh, whether you're doing engineering or medicine, you must take history.
Mhm.
You must take Chinese history. What are you doing?" I didn't know that. I was like, "Oh, but it's almost like the North Star,
Mhm.
right? When they formerly enslaved people, when they would run away to come north to freedom, they will say to them, follow the star, follow the northern star. You will go north, follow that star. So for me, my northern star is my morals. People ask me, I say, oh no, that's my North Star. That's my guiding principle. That's the thing that I would never swear from. Like, so people can say, people say, oh, you gotta be unified.
Mhm.
Uh, Even thieves are unified. When people go into steal, they say, okay, we'll go through the window, through the
Yeah.
door.
Mhm.
The unity of purpose. What is your purpose in order to be unified? Because if you say, okay, we are unified, you could be unified to go steal, you could be unified to go kill. But the unity of purpose for
Mhm.
Liberia should be an upliftment of the country. And with
Mhm.
Dave's question about being influenced by various cultures,
Yeah.
Dave,
But
you could be, it's like a rock,
mhm.
or sometimes different people waste water on you, and sometimes some water might get into a crevice,
Mhm.
but the rock stands sure.
Yeah.
So if you grow up with love of country, love of self,
Mhm.
self-discipline,
Mhm.
this is what it means to be
Mhm.
Dave Ja,
Mhm.
right? So if somebody comes, oh Dave, do this, but you have your North Star,
Mhm.
you know exactly who you are as a person.
Mhm.
Now, one or two other cultures or one or two other friends might penetrate.
Mhm.
They might say something and it might get into you and say, oh, I will take that.
Mhm.
But if you start taking everything,
Mhm.
you lose focus, Prof. You lose focus and you can't do that.
If
You
you
can't.
have a butterfly mentality is you have your eyes and mind swinging from left, right, up, and down. You, from an early age, must seek things like Jackie was saying that will keep you focused.
Yes.
First, find the mind of focus, and all other things shall be added unto you.
Yes.
Find a mind of focus. No one said that it is an easy uh, thing to cultivate, but if you have cultivated it and you can find the likes of you somewhere else, gravitate towards those likes, and it will be a good thing for you. So if John Brown is doing there, you run to it. Jimmy Peters is doing there, you run to it. The other, then you run to it. Then you have a butterfly mentality. That has
Yes.
to go away. So to blame the fact that you are from the midst of other things happening here and therefore you lose so easily, even as an older person, even as an adult. So first find the mind of focus, and all other beautiful things will happen to your life.
Yeah, as the people say, when the roots are deep,
Mhm.
what's hitting the branches doesn't matter.
Yes,
So
yes,
we have to ground our
mhm,
children,
yes,
ground our children
yes,
in surety.
yes,
This is who you are. So
yes,
when somebody comes and say, "Oh, look at you, look what you got on,"
yeah,
you don't say, "Oh," you don't make apologies. You say, "Yeah,
mhm,
this is who I am.
yes,
This is who I am."
mhm,
So some people when they do something, or they do something with their culture, and
mhm,
somebody says, "Hey, that what the people say we should do?" No, this is who I am. This
mhm,
defines me, and I will do it.
yes,
You have to be proud of
yes.
who you are.
In
Don't let people shake your
yes,
core. Your core
in
should be solid.
yes, in the early years of America, and why do we have to always bring America in there? But that's the cultural model, the cultural grade that we always follow now. In the early days of America, there was always the mind that was always going back to Great Britain and what have you. And a few of the educators at the time who were invested in all things academic, it said, well, look, this thing has to stop. We have come of age now that always referencing Great Britain has to stop. Uh, when will we begin structuring our own mentality, structuring our own culture and what have you? So if you indicated that before any of our children is sent abroad to Great Britain, to France, and what have you, we must make sure that we have set the cultural compass straight enough so that when
Yeah.
this child leaves, he or she will want to come back as an American than as a great someone from Great Britain or from France and what have you. That also must become a truism in the country. And what did these people mean by setting the cultural grade straight before these people went? If you leave when you are in junior high school, you will not come back as a Liberian.
No.
If
No.
you leave as a high school graduate, you will not so easily come back as a Liberian. But
Yeah.
if you finish college before going to other
Yes.
places,
Yes. Yes.
your cultural grade is so set that you cannot so easily change left and right. So that is part of what can be done in our country, so that when a child leaves from that country, that child has a cultural grade that will be also solid and will remain obviously unmovable.
And there are times when a child would have to leave because of circumstances.
Yeah.
But when they go, the person that you're sending your child to,
Mhm.
or it must continue.
Yeah.
You must continue conditioning that child.
Yeah.
But if it's so abrupt,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
child is steeped in a Liberian culture, and you
Yeah.
bring them to a totally new culture,
Mhm.
but you're not there to
Yeah.
have that force to say, okay, now I'm going to steer you through this
Mhm.
culture.
Yes.
They will soak, because they are young. They're gonna
Yeah.
soak everything in that's new.
They are
They
impressionable.
want
Yes.
to fit in.
Mhm.
They're not going to want to fit in with their friends. But if
Mhm.
you have people that are saying, okay, you know what? Let me guide your child. Or
Mhm.
if you're here, you say, I will guide you. It's like the law. It said the law is stable, but it should not stand still.
Mhm.
So as the child is moving, they have that stability of core. And I always tell this story about my father, and I beg Prof indulgence to say it once more. My father came to Liberia as a young penniless boy, running away from the first Assad in Syria, was a store boy. My father, I would say, if we were competing, I don't think my love for Liberia equals his. During the war, I was like, why don't you go back to your country? He said, you're stupid. This is my country. But when I came to the United States on a American Field Service exchange program, when I was going back to Liberia, the family that I lived with told me that, okay, when you go, because you finish high school, just go for a short time and come back. And this is a child, Prof, listen to this, is a child who, when I was in Liberia, my father was so involved in my life. Books were my life. He ran the largest bookstore, national bookstore, and books were my life. Even before I went to the university, I could not wear makeup. I couldn't wear earrings. I couldn't wear jewelry. I couldn't wear pants. And my dress must be below my knee. From there to the United States, where I live with a family who told me, oh, you need a little bit of makeup. Put these earrings on. Oh, everybody wears jeans. Put your hair this way. When I came back to Liberia, first of all, the respect. We never look our relatives in the eye. So my father would speak to me. I would always bend my head down. And when I came to the United States, you all know who live in the United States. People want you to look them in the eye, or else they think you are lying. So I forced myself to look people in the eye. I got back to Liberia with jeans, short hair. My hair used to be on my waist. I cut all my hair. I had on makeup. And my father looked at me and I looked him right in the eye. And I remember telling my mother, oh, I'm just here for a few months. I'm going back to the United States, so and so. And my father said, over my dead body, you will remain in this country. You will go to the University of Liberia, or you will not go to school. But you are not going. And he told my mother, if she goes, we will lose her. Teenagers at that time, even now, are impressionable. Prof, I cried, I begged. And my father said, you can cry till you're tired. You're not going anywhere. So I took the LU entrance. I went to LU and I got to love my country. That the love that it was almost like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? This love. So there are times when, even if it feels good to send your child, make sure the person on the other side has the same values that you have, or else as a child coming from a sheltered environment, and you get to this side or to any side, and my host mother used to say, do whatever pleases you. What do I know what pleases me? And I could have gone wrong, so culture is a guiding force. It's a guiding force. People always say to me, Jackie, you're always so quiet, because I don't normally talk about myself. I'm telling this story because it's on topic. And I say, yeah, my grandmother used to say that. She said, some things you vomit and some things you swallow. Or as my friend always say, you can have blood in you and vomit water. Not everything is there for public consumption. So when our children are saying everything on Facebook, you're going to look for a job later on. And people are going to look at your social media and say, did they really say this? Culture can be a guiding force. Prof and I listened to this young boy at the Liberian Studies Association who is not a Liberian. He's from England, a young white guy who was defending secret societies in Liberia, not the FGM, but he was saying there are governance structures in Sandy and Poro society that can help the government of Liberia, that can guide, it can work. These hierarchy, these government structures, these good governance structures that are in the Poro and the Sandy, they can work in our country. I sat there listening to that young boy, and it almost hurt me that it was not a Liberian reading that paper, to tell us that, when people say secret society, oh, let that get rid of it. No, FGM should be getting rid of. The United States have secret societies.
Yeah.
You know,
All
this
countries do.
can
All
form
countries.
a way to guide us. You know, other countries do have secret societies. You take the FGM out, but people go to finishing school.
Yeah.
People go to secret society. You know, you
They.
you
Mhm.
you cannot say because this, then therefore this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you can't. You
Mhm.
take that part out.
Yeah.
But you
Mhm.
learn the good things. You weed out the bad and you learn the good. You know,
Mhm.
and I just feel that our country, reading these letters,
Mhm.
let's say at a disinformation at the time there was no social media, but there was
Yeah.
disinformation.
Yeah.
We have a duty, you know, to uphold elements of our tradition that we feel is
Yeah.
good for the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not something to laugh at. We have to
Mhm.
be proud. You
Yeah.
know, we have to be proud of our traditions. You know, when my daughter was graduating from high school, that was a long time ago. When I put the laptop down, she said, "Oh, mommy," I said, "You will walk." And we, all the Liberians here, we do that. You know, until the other day, my daughter asked me, "Oh, did you forget the lapa?" I
Mhm.
said, "No, her mother is bringing the lapa," because
Mhm.
now my kids are, they know
Mhm.
that this is honorable.
It's a royal treatment.
It's a royal
It's a
treatment. You know,
celebration, a
you
lavish
know,
celebration of a child who has achieved.
you know.
Mrs. Ruth Reeves has
Yes,
a similar work, a seminar work. It's not a big piece, but it talks about, it celebrates the indigenous aspect of rural academies and what have you. And
yes.
anyone, it's called a short history of education in Liberia. You know, such important seminal pieces are very much important in our discussion of we are talking about. Someone said,
Ali Samba says, I couldn't agree more with today's topic. It expresses my stance. I shall never relinquish my culture for any reason
yeah,
whatsoever. I
yeah,
agree. And
that's good.
I
That's
see Eugenia is here. And
mm,
I've been saying this for the longest that, you know, some of us should get together
mm,
and have a one day, I mean, just a show, like an
mm,
hour, 2 hours on
mm,
raising children in this country,
yeah,
you know, raising children. And
mm,
I mean, my kids know, you know, I don't take nonsense. You know,
mm,
if I say, Chris, if I call my daughter, Chris, from the time she was little, she knows that she will never say what? Chris, yes. And if I say Chris, she will say what? I will keep calling her until she say, yes, mom. I say, yeah, come downstairs. You know, you cannot answer me by saying what? You know, true and true. You
yeah.
know, the gribbleness comes up.
Mm.
Yeah,
And yeah, and talking about this answer of what and all that kind of thing. Some of the Peace Corps volunteers that went to, they carry some of their way of responding to their older people. They took that out. My dad was a principal at the time, and he was quick to bring that to a stop. You see, to talk about hi, your own, sometimes your own teacher calling you, John, what?
yeah, no, no,
What
no,
did,
no, that can
what did
happen.
you say? What?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? You know, and of course the Peace Corps will say, well, there's nothing, no, something is wrong with that.
something is
To have
wrong. Yeah,
a young
and
person
then you don't let.
answering older person that way, we have to
Yeah,
start the butterfly mentality.
yeah, we should, Eugenia, we should have and one thing, Prof, I know that we're going off topic, but another thing is
No, it's
also that
not. That first thing is not. What we are, all these things are part and parcel of straightening people up in terms of thinking and what have you. You can
we're
go ahead.
straight fire. But you know, another thing that really bothers me is, you know, when you go to somebody's house, you know, my grandmother had this thing when people come to visit and they come through the living room door,
Mm,
she would say, Jackie, go to the back. And I always used to say, but what's wrong? You know, then sometimes I want to eavesdrop. I want to go in the dining room. She said, I see you, go to the back. And the reason is that there were some things they were discussing that were not meant for my ears,
yeah,
that I could have said it to the detriment of the person who was visiting.
yeah,
You know, so there are some things, I don't care what they say, there are some things not meant for our
mm,
ears.
yes.
You know, I
Young
go to
people.
people's houses, even in Liberia now, their son or their daughter sitting down playing video games. and we're talking in a living room. No, 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 no. My kids, they go in the room until they get old enough to understand and come
Yeah,
and sit.
context. To
Yes,
understand the context.
no, no. But people be like, oh, he just playing his game. No, no. I don't want to be playing game with me where I'm discussing, maybe we're discussing things that they're not supposed to know.
And in child psychology, we recognize the personhood of every child.
Yes,
So if
yes,
you look at somebody and the child is sitting, oh, what that person know, what that person can hear. No, in the silence, you don't know what that child is absorbing. So
yes,
you've got to be very careful. You've
yes,
got to
yes.
be
You have to
very
be very
careful what
careful.
you are doing.
Be very careful. Yeah, so there are so many things that we need to
Mhm.
navigate. I mean, for some of us, who was brought up by,
Mhm.
the other day I was cooking. I had put the meat on the fire, and Ian called my best friend. She called, so we're talking. She said, "What are you cooking today?" And I said, I don't know. So I'm naming the things, and she said, "Oh, but you got pan butter." I said, "Hey, I can eat pan butter on Sunday." And she said, "I think, I mean, that one is not really, but for me now, so if you bring up people with certain rules, even if you're dead, your children incorporate those rules, like they're calling somebody auntie or uncle, the young kids, my daughter kids, not, hi Jackie. No, I'm not your Jackie. I'm not your Jackie, or they say, oh, when the kids were small, I had friends who their kids were calling them by their first name, and they say, oh, my kids they're my friends. We are not friends. I am the parent. And when you get old enough, we can talk about some things. There are some things we'll never talk about. But right now, you're not my friend. I pay the bill and you're in this place. And when my kids got a little older, their friends will call sleepover. I said, my kids reach 10-year-old, there will be no more sleepover. I don't care, No, 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 no. I know you. My kids not going to your house to sleep
Yeah.
over. Yeah. So anyway, these are the things, Prof, I feel so grateful, to have been brought up by strong, rebel women.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful that they gave me a core that I don't have to apologize to nobody except if I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that our young people, they make mistake when they think that this is old fashioned.
Yeah.
To navigate this new world, you need to have a core that is strengthened, by people who have been there.
Yeah.
So I and know your history. Know your history. When people say something to you, oh, Liberia, so and so, be the one to defend and say, no, I know that didn't happen. I know this is not so, because there's you must be able to defend your country. Like I told a guy, no, it was not America who recognized Liberia, because they couldn't. So those are some of the things that when we talk about, like I said to Prof, sometimes we come here and be like, there's nobody, but still we will come, because and you can go to this Library of Congress. They got a lot of
Yeah.
paper there about
People
Liberia.
Liberia,
Yeah, and so that's what we read. Some of it we can't show because you have to have permission. But some of us, we go in, we have permission, and we're able to do that. Oh, we've talked a lot. Okay, Jerome Gaiman says, Mr. Gaiman said, can we establish a lecture series in Liberia for our people? This is wonderful. I'm from Basel. I was a classmate to a Bryant and Brown. These are great grandchildren to these authors. They made lots of sacrifices and contributions to our nation building.
yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Gaiman, we have the Liberian Studies, and we have the Literary Hour. We have the History Channel. We have the thing is that we started to broadcast in Liberia, but I think that it was very late, and a lot of people from Liberia were not calling in to ask questions or listening. And I think that Dennis didn't feel that it was really worthwhile. I agree with you that it's good to have a lecture series on Liberia. The Liberian Studies Conference. I hope that some of you would attend it one day. You will see that Africanists all over the world, Liberianists. I mean, we have a student from Russia, right, Prof?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Alexander's
He,
from Russia. People
he's getting his doctorate this year or something like that.
Yes. and he was presenting a paper,
Yeah.
and then we had two young people, one from Cape Palmas and one from Liberia. The one on Cape Palmas was very important, interesting. He was talking about the pornography and
Yeah.
the bad language in social
Yeah.
media and the effect on the young people in
Yeah.
Liberia. So we have a lot of young people and older people who are doing work
Yeah.
on Liberia, and of course we want to extend our condolences to Ruth Stone and her family
Yeah.
for the passing of our wonderful archivist Verlon Stone.
Yeah.
Verlon was one of the people who went to Liberia with his wife Ruth,
Yeah.
and he didn't. Ruth said he went kicking and screaming. Verlon is
And
an
fell in love.
archivist. He is single-handedly, I guess, responsible for building the archival knowledge
Yeah.
that's housed at Indiana University,
Yeah.
and very good friends of Emma Sawyer, and Furlong went to sleep and passed away, and we are just in shock because Furlong was a mainstay
Yeah.
of the Liberian Studies Association family. We will call Verlon and say, "You haven't digitized the Liberian studies. I'm coming. I'm coming."
Mhm.
So we will miss Verlon. We will miss him a
Yeah.
whole lot. He
Yeah.
was one of the quilters, I call him, that put
Yeah.
together the
Got it put
archive of
together.
Liberian history. Yeah. So our condolences to Ruth and the family, and LSA and the family will be represented July 1st to lay Verlon to rest. Yeah. So Verlon. Virginia said the Bible says that we should train our child in a way they should go so that they are old, they will not depart from it. Yeah. So the foundation has to be strong. The foundation has to be strong. When somebody say, "Who are you?" That's more than a question. What encompasses your soul, your upbringing? Who are you? And then you start to think, okay, who am I? Yeah. So, Prof, yeah. Eugene will talk about the about maybe having a show one day, bringing up young Liberians in an
Yeah.
age of AI and
Mhm.
culture and this
Yes,
and that.
that's right.
Yeah. Yes.
And in an age of diverse travels and all that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Prof.
Well, yes, what we have been talking about centers on the understanding and the capable articulation of the vision and the mission of Liberia
Yeah.
and the part we ought to play in fashioning a legacy that will give our pride that our children and children's children will follow. The vision is the idea of creating a country where the Black personality thrives on diligence and respectability. And all we are called to do is often to ask the question or the set of questions. The language I'm speaking, the way I'm doing certain things, to what extent that such things can bring respectability to our country. And if you are thinking about that respectability, you are thinking about yourself as well. To what extent that can bring diligence and respectability to your family and then to yourself. That is all we live for. That is all we live for. Our physical selves are one day going to go from this world. But what are we living to help strengthen? Well, when you heard us talking about the values that children should have and what have you, that is why we went there to think about them. That is why I said, well, it's not far from removed from what we are saying. That is what we are for. Where do you stand? Environment, a Bassaman said, deblayer. Deblayer means what are you good for? What are you good for? So all that we talk about identity and all that kind of thing, know yourself, ask critical questions, and all that kind of a thing. All those things are part and parcel of the personality that we want to create, people to create in schools, in churches, and what have you, in mosques. All these things are very much important. So I'm glad that Ms. Jackie was able to tap into very important excerpts of letters that came in the early days of the evolution of Liberia. I hope you all got something good out of it. And again, another shout out to Mr. Emmanuel Nagbe, who celebrated his birthday today. I hope he is drinking soft drink because he's a soft drink guy and all that. So thank you all, Dave, Dave, Ja, Eugenia, Ja, and
Mr.
I,
Gaiman,
I
Sylvester.
would get in trouble if I list others and leave others out. But Boyna and all those people, thank you all for always coming to
uh,
chat with us and all that kind of a thing. Let us all continue to make Liberia grow in respectability and in dignity.
I think it's Aliu and then
Yeah,
Mr. Mosi. Everybody, thank you for
yeah,
being here.
yes.
You know, we're here Fridays at
Mhm,
6 o'clock. So if you want to chill, join
mhm,
us and join the conversation. We always say that, you know, if you want to come on, we can bring you on and we can discuss.
yeah,
You know, it's what Prof said. Why some of these things that we discuss,
mhm,
they are not new to us. You
yeah,
know, Ralph Waldo Emerson said that
yeah,
know thyself. Every heart vibrates to that
mhm,
iron string.
yeah,
You know thyself. You know, so when you know, it's like when people meet us, they say, "Who your ma?"
yeah,
What they are trying to do is situate you,
yeah,
you know, and you're proud to say, my mother is so and so
yeah,
because you're proud of your mother, you
yeah,
know, you're proud of that pedigree of
yeah,
people that have stood up, you know.
yeah,
So when you say know yourself, you know your history as well.
yeah,
You know, don't bend your back
mhm,
when people say, where are you from? You know, people, I'm from Liberia. No, you know, my friends say, you own people don't even have to ask you. I say, yeah. Before they can say, I say, I'm Liberian. You
yeah,
know, you can, if you are ashamed of where you're from, then you become ashamed of yourself. So it's true, Liberia have gone through very dark times, you know, but we will, is as they say, Liberia will survive, you know. So in your mannerisms and your action, don't be an apology of Liberia. You know, every country goes through hard
yeah,
ups and downs, you know. So like we always say when we're closing, lift Liberia up.
yeah,
No country is wholly bad, no country is wholly good. We are the rooms and Liberia is the roof. Or as we say now, Liberia is the kino and we all
mhm,
in the kino paddling
yeah,
towards
yeah, yeah,
safer waters.
yeah.
So we ask you to be safe this weekend. We pray God's blessings on you and don't ever forget that we are all Liberians. Some of us came to boat, ship, walking, airplane.
Everything,
I
we are
said,
all
don't
Liberia.
care. Some of us say y'all come join us. Some of us came on the Azor, but we're all Liberians and we should hold together, try
Yeah.
and help each other, you know, and lift Liberia up. So good night and God bless. Good
We
night, Prof.
are Liberia.